to the HealthyCare Podcast, where we literally bring the why back into healthcare. My name is Catherine Okubo, and I'm your host today. And we're shooting from our studios inside MPB Health, your alternative to traditional health insurance, bringing you solutions with health sharing plans. And today we have a very special guest with us today. Actually, she's our first in-person guest at our studio, Loni Markman. Loni is a certified holistic health coach, a neurosomatic coach. She holds a master's degree in nutrition and also degrees in psychology of eating and many other credentials. Loni, it's a pleasure to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I didn't know I was your first in-house guest.
Yes.
A little celebration for that. Thanks for having me.
Of course, Loni. And I think I kind of want to start off like right away asking something that a lot of people don't understand what this neurosomatic coach means.
Sure, yeah.
And my understanding is that you work with the nervous system.
Yeah.
Right?
So neurosomatic, neuro is brain, right? Soma is body. So neurosomatic coaching helps get the brain and the body to become connected.
Oh, okay.
So we are working together. Most of us live up here, right? We live in our
True.
head. We don't live in our body, even though, this is one of the most important places that we get information is from the body. So my goal as a coach is to help people connect to the brain and the body, to help them get on the same page, to help them to become friends so they're not they're not constantly fighting and battling each other. And so that's kind of what neurosomatic life coaching means, is that I really work with the whole system. I work with the nervous system, I work with the body, I work with the fascia to help people really live in a body they love and understand how to soften the system so they can have more inner strength and more strength in their life in general.
So the nervous system is really important, right? Would you say that affects everything about us?
Oh yeah, the nervous system, if you want to think of the nervous system as like your communication system, literally, how think about your nervous system as a pair of glasses, and it's like the lens in which you look through everything, right? So a regulated nervous system sees possibility, sees choice, sees worth. And a dysregulated system will see things more like judgment or not enoughness or threat, because the nervous system asks one simple question, okay? Am I safe? Our nervous system is constantly scanning and looking around. Am I safe? Am I safe? Am I safe? Am I safe? It's not a question that we consciously know is happening.
It's unconscious.
It's an unconscious thought that the nervous system, am I safe? Back in the day, right? Am I safe? Is there a saber-toothed tiger coming to attack me and eat my food? That's what we thought about, right? And so it was fight or flight, right? My nervous system feels activated. Oh my God, there's an animal coming to attack me. Think fast, run fast. Think fast, run fast. But what we have done with the way that we manage our stress and the way that the world has become, we could feel that way from an email exchange.
Right.
We can feel that way
true.
in a conversation with our spouse. We could feel that way in so many different ways. And so the nervous system is really important to understand, A, how yours operates, B, what it means, and then C, how can I live in a more regulated, rewired nervous system so my body thinks it's safe, and so I could be more open. I could have more clarity, more compassion, more capacity for things, versus if I don't think I'm safe, I'm in protective mode and I feel threatened and maybe I people please, or I judge myself, or I do certain other things and I'm doing this posture on purpose, because that's what happens when we don't feel safe. We kind of shrink. We get a little smaller. Right? Because we're getting worried and nervous.
Yeah.
There's so many patterns of dysregulation and regulation, but I think that that's a good explanation for what the nervous system is.
Yes, definitely. Because when people think about fight or flight, they think it might be just more mental, but it's just a natural response. And I think when people grow up in a very stressed environment, they kind of carry that on for life, and it's hard for them to change that unless they do some deep work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're talking about something that I'm really passionate about. The body keeps score. It's a book. It was written a long time ago. I didn't write it, but it's this idea that exactly what you said. We experience, whether it's a traumatic event, big or small. It could be, like death and loss, and it could be, again, getting in a fight, or, your child, you are running late to pick them up to school, and their body remembers that as a trauma.
Right.
Okay, it could be big or small. And over time, if that is not processed, if we don't complete the processing cycle, the body stores it. They can store it physically, in hip pain, in tightness in the jaw, in bloating, in things of that nature. We can store it emotionally, where we take on different parts of us, where we people please, or we can try to control a situation, or, we're a caretaker, not in an overextended way.
Not in a healthy
way.
way.
Not in the healthy way, in an overextended way. So there's a lot of ways where what we've experienced in our time, in our lifetime, holds into the body as we go on. And it's not just about regulating, which is a huge piece of it, but we really want to rewire the system. At the end, our end goal is to rewire, so that when something that may trigger the same experience that we had when we were 12, let's say, doesn't affect our nervous system as much anymore. So the regulation is the tool, the rewiring is the goal.
And how can people start that rewiring process? Is it really complicated? Does it take a long time? Or would you say it's the first step?
Yeah, well, I'll answer the first part. It is not a quick fix.
Yeah.
It's more of a slow burn. And really what I would say the first step is, it's a couple. First, we do want to learn we need to understand the system before we could rewire it. You cannot change what you do not see. You cannot change what you do not know. Most of us are on autopilot. And we want to be able to slow down and tune out the noise and to check back in with who we are. What does it mean? How did I feel when this happened? Did I have stomach ache? Did I, get really nervous? Do I have a lot of anxiety? So we notice our symptoms and our behaviors, and then certain patterns. So we really need to get to know who we are. So the first step that I believe is listening to the body, learning to tune out the noise and to listen to the body.
How do you listen to your body? Is it certain feelings, intuition, or just...
Yes. All of the above. So, we listen by quieting the external noise. There's so much noise. This is how I should be. This is what I should look like. This is, how I should dress. This is what I should do for work. It gets passed down generations. It gets given to us by society, social media, all of these things. So we have to, in order to listen, we have to quiet the external noise. And so there's some patience and presence that has to happen where we start to really tune in. Okay, it doesn't matter what Sally says. How do I feel?
Okay.
Right? So there's that piece. And then there's asking ourselves questions. I believe we should become our own detectives. I believe this with food. I believe this with how we feel in our body. How do I feel right now? How did that conversation just make me feel? When is the last time you or anyone listening took a pause after an experience and reflected?
Reflection.
Okay. When's the last time we went back in and said, "Whew, my heart rate is really up. I wonder why. Let me think about that." And sometimes it's really blatantly obvious, and sometimes it's not. And so we want to keep asking ourselves these questions constantly throughout the day. How do I feel right now? What does my body need? if I knew the answer, what would I do right now?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because the mind is going to take over. The ego is bigger. It's going to take over. The brain makes up a ton of stories about what we should be doing, but the body knows the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So if we keep going back into the body and asking it what it feels, what it needs, and at first it's going to feel really weird. You're going to be like, what did this girl just tell me to do? With that said, it's also going to take a little time before you can listen to the body versus the brain. The body speaks in sensation. It doesn't speak in words.
Right.
So we need to learn how to listen to those sensations. And we're not used to that. We weren't taught that. This is like learning a completely new foreign language. So be patient with yourself. It's not something, this is why they call it a practice. It takes practice to check in with your body. So that's the first thing that I would say is start to ask yourself some questions. Hand on heart, hand on belly. What does my body need right now? Okay, maybe 10 minutes later, or 20 minutes later, or 2 hours later. Hand on heart, hand on belly. What is it trying to tell me? What does it need right now?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're constantly asking those questions. And eventually it becomes second nature where you're clear in the way your body communicates. And my body's going to communicate different than your body and different than the person listening. And that's the beauty of it. And that's why it's really important to get to know your own language, the own language your body speaks and your own nervous system. So that's my first step, asking yourself questions.
That's great. I think that's a good first step.
Yeah.
And also, it can give you more clarity about how you feel when you're with other people, too.
Oh, 100%.
Right?
Absolutely.
Because some people can trigger your body or stress in ways they didn't even mean to, but you just feel that way, or they can make you feel wonderful just by being in their presence.
Absolutely. And it's such a beautiful thing when we know this, right? And most of us can walk in a room and be like, that person I just love when I'm around them. Like, I feel so good. Or like, gosh, that energy of that room. We've all experienced that before. And that's a perfect example of your nervous system talking to you. And so how do we listen to that? And then how many times are we in alignment with what our nervous system speaks? And how many times are we out of alignment? How many times have we kept friendships or plans or certain things where our body's just like, no, I don't want to do that.
Yes.
And then we go and we're like, meh.
Yeah, we come back depleted, exhausted.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. But then sometimes we're with somebody and we feel energized.
Absolutely.
And lively.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
And when we listen to that and we know that so deeply, we know where we want to spend our time. We know the feelings and emotions that feel good to us, right? And that is a really important piece to look into what is happening for you, because those emotions show up in the body in so many ways. I've named a few of them. But let's say you're constantly out with someone and like you said, like you feel invigorated and alive. What if you feel, what if you notice your posture's different? What if you notice the way and the tone in which you speak is different? What about your belly? I do a lot of core confidence work. I believe the belly holds so much power, and this is an area that we hide and we shame, but it's really where our source of power lives. It's where our confidence, it's where our creativity, it's where our pleasure, where our joy lives. It's probably a whole nother podcast, but so what if you're constantly bloated and you're noticing it's only around that person?
Oh, wow.
Okay, there's so many different ways that this can show up. You just, you come home from work every day and you're constantly needing to numb out or, check out and drink wine and watch Netflix and whatever. And I'm not liking wine and Netflix, but if you're seeing patterns of places and people, notice.
Yeah.
Notice that. And so that's the next step, right? So we start to ask ourselves questions, and the next step is to notice. And we try to notice without judgment.
That's the hard part.
Oh, yeah, that is the hard part. Most of the time, we're judging ourselves.
Yeah, that's why it's so hard.
Yeah.
We can be really harsh on ourselves.
Oh, gosh, yes. So how do we notice without judgment?
How?
Yeah.
Please tell me.
Yeah. So that judgment is oftentimes two things. One, because our system doesn't feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
When you feel safe in your own system, you're usually not judging. Okay? So we work on safety, but we try not to what I call meaning make, right? So we create stories. I just saw you like chuckle with that one, right? So we create stories often about things. How do we notice without judgment? I feel tired today. Period. It's not I feel tired today because. It's not, even if you did sleep bad, let's say, I feel tired because I slept bad. Okay, sure, that might be true. But how do we just notice the feeling and the emotion without the reasoning, the why, the how to fix it? Because how we create safety in the body is not by fixing, not by thinking we're broken, not by thinking we're a project. And most of us move in life in that way. I know I started this whole journey by trying to fix myself, which I'm happy to share. But to fill that, to complete that sentence is how we notice without judgment. We notice the sensation. I have tightness in my shoulders today. And I want to tell you more so badly, right? I want to be like, it's because I worked out or because I slept bad or I have a kink in my neck or I want to go into more. We just notice the sensation and we practice that. So we didn't meaning make anything about it. I'm feeling frustrated by that conversation. And so, yes, we do go on eventually, right, into deeper ways that we work with that. But first we ask the questions and then we notice. And we try to listen without judgment and in deep compassion and curiosity. Because if we're constantly in compassion with ourselves, what are we not in? Judgment. And then we just want to get curious.
So it's really like a self-discovery.
It's definitely a self-discovery
journey.
Yeah.
With treating ourselves with care, compassion. It's being gentle with ourselves, really.
100%. Being gentle with yourselves is a beautiful way to say it. So I do a lot of somatic work, and that is one of the ways the body learns is being gentle, right? It's a little slower. It's more present. That allows us to listen. That allows us to not be in the performance of, but in the presence of.
Yes, yeah. I got it. Very nice. And I would love to know, and I'm sure everybody here would love to also know, how did you start it? How did you get into it?
Yeah. So like I just said, one of the things for me was about fixing. So when I was, it's a long time ago, when I was in my early 20s, I was bloated all the time. Like 6 months pregnant, I lived in New York City. People would like give up their subway seats for me. And that wasn't pleasant, right? Because I wasn't married, wasn't thinking of babies, none of the things, but I was just constantly bloated.
Wow.
And I was eating quote unquote well. I was exercising, I was doing all the things. And so I went on this deep journey to fix myself because I was broken. Obviously, right? I was ashamed and I was broken. I was a Pilates teacher at the time. And so, having a bloated belly when you're teaching Pilates didn't feel right. So I just went down this deep path. That's how I got into nutrition school. That's how I went down that path. But in hindsight, if I knew then what I know now, my body was talking to me. It wasn't broken. Sure, I didn't want to feel bloated, but bloated was a response to so much more than just food. Don't get me wrong, food is a first line of defense. Vitamins, minerals, macronutrients, all the pieces are important, but there's also an emotional component to that. The physical and the emotional work hand in hand. So as I started to learn nutrition, I also started to understand that I was holding on to a lot of unprocessed emotions. I was literally bloated with emotions that I couldn't digest.
Like suppressed,
holding on to them, and not even consciously. deeper rooted emotions, like you were talking about in the beginning, that might have been there from childhood that I didn't know I was carrying at the moment. And so that was part of the deep journey of really getting to notice my body, getting to know my body. We are the longest relationship we will ever have.
That is so true.
We are with ourselves all the time,
Yeah.
right? And so we ask ourselves, how are we treating ourselves? How are we listening to ourselves, right? And that was my big aha at that time. I was like, you know what? I have this body. I know it very surface level. And I did. I ate well, I exercised, I taught Pilates. Like, I knew anatomy, I knew the body, but I didn't really know me on a deeper, more soulful level. And so that kind of became the path. And I'm talking, that was 25 years ago. So now, I go on, I do some mindset coaching, I do some confidence coaching, and I'm really helping people connect to their body. Again, we're making a lot of strides, weight loss, all the things. But when I started to really understand how deep the nervous system played a part, that's when everything shifted. And that was only about 6 years ago, where the nervous system started to come into play. And I started to understand that we can't mindset our way through all this. We have to feel it.
Yeah,
you have to feel it to heal it.
It's so true. So many people are all about the positive thinking, but that alone will not really change you.
Well, the positive thinking is beautiful, and it also bypasses what's actually happening in the body.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you think about it, and we have all these old emotions, and then we're stacking and we're stacking and we're stacking on top of it, there's no space in the system for anything new. So we have to unlearn some of the behaviors. We have to release some of the stuck emotions and the stored trauma, so we could become the true aligned, positive, person that we want to become, whatever that is for you, different for me, right? We just can't mindset our way there. We have to work the brain and the body together, hence the neurosomatic piece.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, we don't really connect those two very much in today's society, and it's so important. And talking about stored emotions, how does somebody really go about releasing stored emotions?
This is my favorite. So every body is different. However, we release emotions physically, somatically. That's where the piece comes in. So shaking, tapping, movement, any sort of movement, dance,
Exercise.
Pilates, yoga. Well, yes and. Okay. So when we're talking about nervous system safety and dysregulation in the nervous system, some exercises can create more dysregulation.
Really?
And some can create regulation. Everybody is different. However, if you're dysregulated in that moment, activated, anxiety, you're in fight or flight, like you're in a moment, I wouldn't say go do some sort of cross-training, CrossFit kind of heavy lifting, fast-paced workout. Your body doesn't want to be activated more. It wants to be downgraded and relaxed. And again, if you're in a freeze and fawn, which are the other two states we haven't talked about, state, perhaps you want to do something a little bit more uplifting, like urban rebounding, like jumping on the trampoline to get the heart rate up, to move yourself out of that freeze state. So it just depends what's happening in the body. But yes, movement in general, I would say movement over exercise. That's, my preference. Those are all beautiful ways. Breath is a huge piece of the puzzle. Then there's a lot of nervous system tools like orient. Like we look around and we can orient ourselves into safety. What are 3 things you see, 3 things you smell, 3 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear? It grounds the body back into safety. I am here, being present. I am here, I am now. So when we're in these activated states, we can come back to self-energy. So your question is kind of like there's a lot in that of how we can release in the system. But I will reiterate, we can't release what we don't know. So we might know I have anxiety, or I might know I'm bloated. And those are probably true things, but what else is happening? What are some of the things that I don't know that I'm holding on to in my system? I'll give you an example. I never thought I was a people pleaser. Like, I'm like, whatever, F everyone, like, I'm good, right? That was my personality. And to realize what I was doing, that was protection mode. So this was a nervous system pattern that I wasn't familiar with until I started to really get to know myself in this deeper, more connected, what is the language my body speaks? So now I have beautiful boundaries. I say yes when I want to say yes. I say no when I want to say no. And if you get me, we're like in full alignment, and I'm so stoked to be there. Right? It's different because now I can really understand that. But a lot of us are living with these pre-programmed, societal conditioned, automatic ways we operate. And it's not our fault. But in order to regulate, we have to understand that. We have to get to know ourselves. So again, asking the questions, noticing, trying to notice without judgment and more clarity and compassion. And then when we're activated, tapping on the body. I use something called emotional freedom technique all the time. It's a beautiful, it's a tapping pattern to release the stuck stored stories and limiting beliefs from the body. Shaking, animals shake after they're stressed. Right?
Yes.
So the shaking, that's a really good one. Any side of fluid, I do Kundalini as another one. So there's a lot of ways that we can release stored tension from the physical body. I use tension, trauma, they're kind of interchanged. I think trauma is a little misunderstood sometimes. I don't just mean big traumatic events. Trauma could be even small little things that happen to us. So anything that the body reacts, the body interprets as trauma, not just the mind.
Okay.
Right? So when we release something, it becomes a practice as well. Because what we're doing in the release is we're rewiring the system. And that's kind of the end goal. So I have said conversation again, my body reacts differently because I've created a new pattern. I've created a new pattern in my brain to say, I am not unsafe when this happens anymore.
Right. So it's basically also neuroplasticity in the brain too.
Yes.
Working alongside of that.
That's exactly what it is.
Because
so
the neuroplasticity, they're going to send different signals to your nervous system.
That's exactly what it is.
Wow.
Yeah. So that is such a beautiful discovery, and we should all be so excited to hear that the brain is neuroplastic. Like what we know, like we can change, and what we know doesn't have to stay that way. But again, it is a practice. It's a commitment. It's a choice, right? Everything's a choice point.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful thing to know that we really have that ability to rewire our own system.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. That's wonderful. I think you do beautiful work. That's amazing because a lot of the times there's a lot of coaches that I see that don't focus on the emotional side. And I think that's probably the most important part.
I really don't know how you can't. You know what I mean? We're such emotional beings.
Yeah.
And it's something really beautiful when we get to tap into our own feelings, right? I mean, look, does it get a little messy along the way? Sure. Yeah. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, right? Like that's one thing, you guys don't know me, but I'm a very real, honest coach, right? This takes work. Some of it is hard. It gets messy before it gets better sometimes. And on the flip side, it is so beautiful. The clarity, the confidence, the ability to show up. Because to me, when we create safety in our system, we get to be seen in who we are. We get to love all of our parts. I have parts that have anxiety. I have parts that feel fear, right? I'm not just saying, feel the fear and do it anyway. I'm getting in touch with my fear and loving up on it And being
Right.
like, thank you for being here. And I get to be both fearful and excited at the same time and watch me rise.
Right. It's being authentic and owning your shadow and light
Yeah,
side,
exactly.
right?
It's duality.
Yeah.
It's the duality of both. We live in a both and, not an either or.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
True.
And that's a beautiful gift we have, right? And so the emotion part of it is so many of us are taught to sweep our emotions under the rug.
Yes.
And it's so hard to go against what we've known for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years for some people. You know, I have a client who's 80 and she has changed so much about what she thought was like a story, what she thought was gospel, but it was just a story and it was just programming from one of her parents at 80.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean?
Wow,
like,
yes.
how cool is that?
Everything is possible.
Everything is
at any
possible.
age.
Yeah, when we really get to feel our feelings and connect to our body and not make it wrong or bad.
And that way, we also get less triggered by outside circumstances because we have an internal focus.
100%. So using that word internal, so that's what I believe the core is. It's your internal compass. When we are connected to the power of the belly, you know you. And that is your internal compass. You get to kind of go within and check in with your own gut feeling. And that gut feeling, when listened to, leads the way to exactly where you need to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very well. But now I think I want to get into more about the body image.
Sure.
Right, as women.
Yeah.
I think that the body image is something that it's very distorted for a lot of different people.
Yeah.
Some people consider something beautiful, others don't. How can one, especially women, improve themselves in that sense for the body image, and how can that nervous system help with it too? How can you shift that image?
Yeah. I mean, I think it really goes back to permission. Permission to not let the noise weigh you down. And it takes work because it's a lot of unlearning and unconditioning, right? I grew up at a certain era where, you know, thin was in, right? And there's pre-programming there, even though I've done a lot of work on that, right? And so it goes back to what I was like, ask the questions like, what are the stories that I'm holding on to that I believe make a body good, make someone pretty, make someone sexy, make someone, you know, fill in your own blank, whatever it is. Because the way I grew up with like Cosmopolitan magazine and those kind of things, like there were certain things in those, you know, those stories that I believed for a long time.
Yeah, they shape the culture.
They shape the culture and they shape your mindset. And then they shape how you show up in your body. They shape what you wear. They shape how you talk to yourself. And of course, they shape your nervous system. So if you're in constant dialogue with yourself and that inner critic is loud, what do you think's happening to your nervous system?
You're creating more stress to it.
Yeah, 100%. You're creating more stress to it. So you're creating either more fight or flight or freeze or fawn. And side note, if we are in this dysregulated system, like a fight or flight, what's not happening is digestion. So you're either in fight or flight or in your rest and digest. So you can't be digesting, assimilating your nutrients, relaxing, at peace with yourself if you're constantly in fight or flight. So how are we speaking to ourselves? That's my first question for anyone who wants to create a better relationship to your body. How are we talking to ourselves?
And that ironically directly affects our actual appearance too.
100%.
Yeah.
I actually just saw something the other day and I wish I knew where it was from. Someone was filming themselves and she was having this positive conversation with herself. and you saw her face was lighter and her eyes kind of sparkled, and then she started to do negative self-talk and you saw her face get heavier.
Oh, wow.
And so speaking of how it creates your physical appearance, it truly does.
Wow.
Right? Same concept. If I'm feeling good and I'm having good conversation with myself, I'm going to stand tall. My posture is going to be different. But if I'm not, I'm going to slump down into the chair and I don't want to be seen, right? So it affects many things. But the most important piece is, what story is yours? What story have you been holding on to that's just a little bit of BS that you are no longer wishing to believe, or maybe wasn't yours in the first place? And then how can you release that story? Because typically those are the stories that are keeping us weighed down emotionally, physically, mentally, energetically, spiritually, so on and so forth. So if you think about inflammation in the body, right? Oftentimes those emotions, that stress, is inflammation in the body.
Oh, wow.
And so when we release that, we release those feelings of stress, we release the negative self-talk, we release the inflammation, what happens? We feel better.
We feel lighter.
We feel lighter. We feel more joy. We feel connected.
Yes.
And as human beings, all we want is to be connected. I want to be connected to you. You want to be connected to me. I want to be connected to myself, my community, my kids, my spouse, so on and so forth, right? And how do we do that? When we give ourselves safety to see ourselves. But we cannot do that when we are listening to the noise of other people.
Right. Right.
So what is your truth? What is your truth?
You need to find out.
Yeah.
Wow. That's why some people, they have like a glow up after they end a relationship.
Yeah.
Because they were listening to the noise of somebody else.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. They were listening to the noise of someone else. And this is why I started with permission. Permission. Permission to be you. Permission to have the body you have. Permission to love up on it. I used to be a weight loss coach, and I would say this all the time. You cannot change your body when you don't love what is. You have got to get to a place, and I'm going to talk about this because I think it's important for a second. It's a little diversion. But you cannot, you can lose 10, 20, 30 pounds, but it will come back, from my experience, if you don't learn to love what is along the way. So you can still want change, and I'm using weight loss because it's an easy example and it's visual, but you can still want change. However, we have to learn to be with ourselves as we are now. And I use the word love, but I'd like to use the word neutrality for a second. Because if you think of it as a pendulum, and I'm over here with self-hate and I'm over here with self-love. Or let me do this again. Like dislike of the body and confidence. However you want to say it, right? Two separate sides. We don't just go straight across. We kind of go down and we kind of swing here for a little while. And maybe sometimes I'm over here and sometimes over here. And I know you guys, if you're just listening, you can't see what I'm doing. But if you think of a pendulum and it kind of swings in the middle, that's neutral. I have to be comfortable with what it is, even when I don't look exactly how I want to, even when I don't know how I'm going to succeed, even when I don't have the answers, even when I need to have some neutral feelings about where I am. I am safe. I am love. I am happy. I am respectful, whatever the word is for you. Excuse me. And when we can do that, that is one of the biggest gifts we can give ourselves, to have that body positive relationship.
So basically you need to be in that state of neutrality before reaching the final goal. Is that what you see the most success
You can't
with?
skip it. Most people don't know it's a step though. And then I don't have enough willpower, or I can't do this, it's so hard, because they think they can go from this inner critic to like this deep confidence in a straight line. Healing is not linear.
Right.
Not a straight line.
Yes, that is true.
You know, and you know, that gets into a whole nother topic, but really just to understand, when we're talking about the body and we're talking about body image, most of us don't feel enough. And that is not our fault. We don't feel enough because society told us we weren't. It still does. Black Friday, which just passed, right? It's constantly like, you need this product, you need this product. And the brain goes, I'll be better if I get this cream, or if I try this supplement, or if I, and I'm not saying that's bad or wrong. And also, I am perfect as I am right now in all of my imperfections. And maybe I want to try that cream. Not if I try that cream, I'll be better and then people will like me.
Okay, got it. So,
do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, there's a big difference. Small detail, but big difference.
Yes.
It's not to not look at yourself as broken.
Yeah, we are not broken. We do not need to be fixed. We are not a project.
But we can
we can continue to
improve.
grow.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Growth is beautiful. I believe we should all be on the edge of growth.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Pushing ourselves to this limit where we're like, ooh, this feels scary. I don't know how this is going to happen. But we do that because if we were constantly comfortable, we wouldn't be growing.
Yes.
We wouldn't be learning. So yes, we can constantly be wanting to improve ourselves from an alignment place, not from because Sally told me or the internet's telling me I'll be better if I do X, Y, and Z.
But
so it's clearing the noise.
Because you know this is your path.
Because
basically.
I believe this will feel good for me. And then you know what? You try it on and you're like, that didn't feel good for me. Cool. But you did it for you.
Right.
We can change our mind all the time. But we have to do it with alignment of who we are and what we want, not because the world has told us what we should do or how we should be or how we should show up. Like, that's another thing. If we could get the shoulds out of our vocabulary, just try that for 2 days. See how many times you say the word should and how many times you can eliminate that and replace it with something else. I get to.
So instead of should, we should say...
See, you just said it. Even
instead of...
right?
Oh, yeah.
It just happens.
Right, yes, it's so automatic. Okay,
yeah.
Instead of should...
Like,
we say...
I should work out today. I'm going to work out today. I get to work out today. I hope to work out today.
Okay.
We could say it in so many different ways, but there's a different, even when you feel it on, I should creates a blame and a shame already on me that if I don't, I'm not enough.
It's like a weight.
Yes.
When you say
and
that.
our whole goal is to decrease the added weight and pressure emotionally, physically, energetically, spiritually, nutritionally that we put on ourselves. So we can feel lighter and we can feel more aligned.
It's so interesting. Very small details, big change.
So I love that. Small details, big change.
And talking about the shoulds and the weights, I know you mentioned a lot about the word permission.
Yeah.
What does that mean to give yourself permission?
So permission is like my jam. So permission could be many things, right? But permission to honestly, the first and foremost thing is like permission to get to know you. Like, we talk about consent when we're dating. We talk about like this is the same thing. It's like self-consent, you know, it's like courting yourself.
Like self-dating.
Yeah. I sometimes joke that I should be a relationship coach, but it's relationship to self.
Okay.
I'm a self-relationship coach. But it's really about permission is permission to be seen, permission to be loud, permission to say no. I mean, it depends the permission that you feel you need. But giving it to yourself, that's what permission means to me, where we get to quiet the outside noise and I get to lean into myself. Permission to be with me and that to be enough. Permission to feel what it feels like to be in my body and for that to be beautiful. And again, it's a practice. I just wrote a whole book on this. It's called The Permission Diet. It's recipes for giving less beeps and loving your body more. Not sure if I could curse. So it's really about each chapter is a permission. And I might need a different permission than you need, right? And that's a beautiful thing. And so what can you lean into to give yourself more permission for? I like permission for softness as a start. How can you just be softer to yourself? Whether that soft is a little gentle, kinder, maybe you give yourself a hug every day, but that's a beautiful permission to start with, because we're so hard on ourselves.
Yes, very critical of ourselves.
We're so critical. We're so hard. A lot of our work is pushing through, we're like hitting our head against a wall a lot. And so permission, if we could just soften that relationship to ourselves, and then we could see what other permissions we need. Yeah.
Very interesting. And how does the reconnecting with the body, as you mentioned, rewires everything from communication to intimacy?
I mean, when you feel safe with yourself, the body is just more open. It's softer. It's more inviting. Vulnerability doesn't sound as scary because you're so connected to who you are.
Oh, there's no fear.
There might be fear, but it's not debilitating fear. Okay? I'm going to put myself out there, and even if I don't get the response I want, I'm still good enough. Right? So we get more open. We get more open in our language, literally, like in our words. We get more open in our body language. We get more open in the bedroom. We get more open in our communication. And when the body softens because it feels safe, what happens? Rest and digest. So what happens? We get to, assimilate our nutrients better if we're going back from a nutrition perspective, right? Where now we have the vitamins and the minerals in our system to give us the energy we feel depleted from. So it's kind of like a cycle. They kind of work together. So softness and creating safety in the body changes everything in your life. I mean, it will change how you show up in business. It will change how you, like I said, in the kitchen, in the bedroom, with your relationship with your children.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So I hear basically everything is connected to our self-perception and self-worth.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I think everything is connected to our own self-worth and perception, and understanding that it's really, so I want to just make sure that that's not something that you're thinking about. If I change my self-perception, really it's about your nervous system. It's about changing your nervous system so your self-perception changes. It's not the other way around.
Okay.
So we want to work on the nervous system safety, being and understanding that, regulating the body, doing the practices, the breath, the movement, the tapping, the connecting, the internal dialogue, asking the questions I talked about, sitting with myself. That will change self-perception.
Okay.
Because if we go the other route and we say, I want to work on my self-perception, I want to just feel more confident, how do we do that? We're doing it again externally or surface level. And that's fine. That will shift maybe 10%. But if we want to go the 90%, we have to go the other way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. We talk about this time of year, like with manifestation and goal setting and things of that nature. Again, we can go that first 10%, and many people do, and that's why February comes and your goals have fizzled. But if we go the other way, and we're building the safety and the connection into the body, you're going to be in August and you're going to be crushing your goals. Because we created space for them. We created the capacity in the nervous system to expand our goals, to stack new goals, right? So let's say, I don't know, what's a goal you have for 2026? Not to put you on the spot.
Wow. A lot of business goals,
okay.
right?
Right, okay, so
career-wise.
So let's say let's use the podcast. You want to do 10 more podcasts, a month than you do now. You have to create the capacity in your own body, in your own business, to hold the space to have those 10 extra things that happen. Right? And so that's what all of this nervous system work is about. So you can become and grow and be the bigger, better version of who you desire to be, who you are in your core. We create the capacity for that to happen through the nervous system work.
And would that be, for example, you start to feel and being that person before it happens?
Yeah, I mean, yes. And so tell me what you mean a little bit more about being that person. Like you show up in that way before.
Yes, before it actually happens. And that's my question, right?
Yeah.
Is that how you do the work in the nervous system?
I think that's part of it. I think that I'm not a big fake it till you make it person, but I do believe that there's a part of trusting the process, even when you don't have the answers, even when you don't know how it's going to happen. That is kind of like being her before she shows up.
Right, being okay in that unknown.
Being okay in the unknown.
Yeah,
I call it the even when, but the unknown 100%. Yeah. The messy middle.
Yes. It's a hard thing to do, but it's possible.
It is. None of this is easy. And all of this is necessary if we want to live a longer, more fulfilled life. I mean, at the end of the day, most of us want to live longer. We want to feel good. We want to be surrounded by people that lift us up. We want to have community, right? All of these things. We want to be abundant.
Yes. Keyword.
Yeah, we want to be abundant. And so doing the work that feels a little more challenging now, no matter what age you are listening, will allow you to have the longevity and the life you want later.
Right. So the sacrifice you're doing now, it's going to be worth it.
Yeah. It's a beautiful challenge. I wouldn't even call it a sacrifice. Because that feels like hard. And I know that this is challenging, but it's so good. It's so juicy. And I mean, I can tell you who I was before I do this work and who I was after, and it's completely different. I am speaking on podcasts. I'm speaking on stages. I'm writing books. Like, I was able to show up differently because I'm connected to who I am, and I have trust, even if I have no idea really how it's going to happen. And that comes with checking in, asking yourself the question, noticing it neutral, trying not to be in judgment, quieting the noise. I mean, I'm giving the blueprint here, right? It's just actually embodying that work, putting it into practice. 5 minutes a day. In the morning, 5 minutes a day at night. It doesn't have to be long. Just little check-ins, little mini moments that you can check in so it doesn't feel like a sacrifice, right? Because we're busy people.
Yeah.
We ain't got time for things. So these small little ways that we can stack these that create the change. And that's how the rewiring happens, in these small little stackable moments. So it doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to feel like a big deal. And everything you do now affects your later. So choose how you do your now.
Yeah, we just have to commit to that growth.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love everything that you do.
Awesome.
Is there anything else that you think it's important to share about this before we wrap it up?
No, I think that really covers it. I mean, look, here, the truth is, I have a coach. We don't do this alone. We heal in community, whether it's me or someone else. Find people around you to be in community with, to work this part through. And I think that's really beautiful. Like, that would be my suggestion for most people.
Okay. And how can people find you? Where do they go?
Awesome.
To
Totally.
work with you?
So my website is my name. It's just Loni Markman, MarkLoni Markman. My Instagram handle is powerhouse_by_Loni. And you'll find most things on either of those two. I do a lot of different containers. So I'm doing something called Permission to be Seen, which starts in February. In January, I have an event that happens where we release And so we create our goals and our becoming boards, right? So there's all
that's
different
so
kinds of
cool.
things that we do. But I also run a monthly membership. It's called Somatic Collective, and it is the somatic and nervous system safety of the body, tapping you into the power of your belly. So movement, coaching, nervous system regulation, challenges, and that's Somatic Collective. I'm happy to share that with you if you want to like drop it in when you share this.
Please.
Yeah.
We'll put
absolutely.
everything on the video in the caption.
Yeah, absolutely. So Loni Markman.
Okay, well, great.
Awesome.
Wow.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so
you.
fun.
This was so insightful. I learned so much, and I'm sure everybody's going to love it and enjoy it very much. So thank you for being here with us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, and thank you guys for listening.
Yes, thank you guys for another Healthy Care podcast. We'll see you on the next one.